Welcome, everybody. I'm Carol Starr. I am one of the leaders of the Brain Injury Advisory Council of the Brain Injury Association of America. All of us are brain injury survivors. We come to you from across the country. All of us are volunteers using our experience to help other brain injury survivors. Collectively, we have more than 130 years as educators, as advocates, as mentors, making a difference for other brain injury survivors. Want to introduce the rest of our council. As I mentioned, I am Carol Starr. I had a brain injury in 1999, and I'm in Maine. I'd like to introduce my fellow co-leader, Kellie.
Thank you. I'm Kellie Lang. I'm from Virginia, and I've been living with brain injuries since 2001.
Angela.
Hi guys, I'm Angela Lee Tucker and I'm in Asheville, North Carolina, and I've had a brain injury since 2008.
And Cass.
Hello, everyone. I'm Caswich Marie. I'm located in Phoenix, Arizona, and I have been living with brain injury since 2017.
Darcy.
Hi, everyone. My name is Darcy Keith. I am from Fishers, Indiana, and I've been living with brain injury since 1991.
Josh.
Hey everyone, I'm Josh Kirschmeyer. I live in New Hampshire and I've been living with a brain injury since 2003.
And Kellie.
Hi, I'm Kellie Pokrifka. I'm in Virginia, and my brain injury occurred in 2013.
And Stacia.
Hi, everyone. I am Stacia Bissell. I live in Western Massachusetts, and my brain injury occurred in 2011.
And now, Darcy and Kellie are going to talk about point two. Sometimes the effects of a brain injury are not recognized until later.
Sometimes the effects of brain injury are not recognized until later, and because injuries are not diagnosed right away, a person may not realize that they are experiencing the effects or having new challenges, or the past injury is brought to their attention.
Just because a brain injury was missed at first does not mean it is any less of an issue. Brain injuries are missed for many reasons. Regardless of when a history of brain injury is identified, it is important to get the healthcare, rehabilitation, and support a person needs.
So that's a great point that we're trying to make, is that sometimes things just don't happen right away. For me, my injury occurred, and it wasn't until 2 years later that I experienced vertigo, and it was brought on by stress and lack of sleep. So there were a myriad of factors that came together that caused the additional symptom or additional problem that I had. So sometimes these can come later on in life. And in addition, another one that came later on in life was the sleep disturbances. So I used to not wake up for things like lightning and thunder or my husband snoring. But then later, they just came out, and all of a sudden I'm hearing things. I'm more sensitive to light, to sound, that it just kind of overwhelmed me a little bit. So some of these things do come on later in life. And I don't know, Kellie, have you experienced anything like that too?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the classic situation is if you have a bad accident, you may go to the hospital and they're immediately targeting, like, oh, you have a broken arm. We can see that so clearly. And it tends to be if you don't have a brain bleed, it's pretty unlikely that they will be able to give you a definitive answer. And even if you have a definitive answer, about this brain injury, they have no idea how, like difficult it'll be, how long the effects will last. I expected mine to, be up and done in a week, and it's been 11 years, and I still have not had a minute where I'm not in very disabling pain and nausea, cognitive symptoms. I also had a lot of mood and behavioral changes that showed up later. About maybe 2 years in, I experienced a really deep depression, and that had never been something I had experienced before. And I felt so guilty about being depressed because I was like, I'm in this situation and I'm allowed to live with my parents. They take care of me. Um, and I felt so guilty without realizing this is just another brain injury symptom. There's nothing more morally wrong with this than my dizziness or, my insomnia. So yeah, don't feel guilty. Don't be surprised if something comes up later, and don't prevent yourself from going to discuss it with your doctors or your care team because it could be directly related to the brain injury, it could not be, but regardless, you deserve care.
And I think, Kelly, you bring up a good point that it could be related to your brain injury. It could come up with something more intense that you need to take a look at. Like with my vertigo, it's something that I had to look at. I had to make sure I watched my sleep, my stress. I had to pay attention to triggers. So things that come later on in life, I had to pay attention to what triggered that and try to avoid that as much as possible. And with sleep, that is so important to those of us who experience brain injury that it's just being cognizant or being aware, just being aware of things that may trigger. And because of neuroplasticity, your brain changes. And some of those changes could be very positive later on in life, but it also, when those changes are done, can trigger something else. So just be aware that the brain is changing. It's natural to do that. There's nothing wrong with you, but things may show up later.
Exactly. I also feel like a lot of my early brain injury symptoms sort of prevented me from seeing the other brain injury symptoms I was having. I was so nauseated and so sleepy that I don't think I realized some of the cognitive issues or the memory issues that I was experiencing because I simply just didn't have the energy to notice them or call them out. And I, attributed them. Of course, like I can't remember certain things because I am so fatigued right now. And then once some of those symptoms improved, I was able to see, oh, I do have these symptoms and I should look for options on how I can better treat them and, better move on, and make progress with different aspects that I wasn't able to notice earlier.
I think, like Kelly had said, some identifying these things and finding treatments will definitely help you in the long run, especially when things come later. So that way, there may not be issues from that that you would experience. So I think yes, treating the what comes later in life, it's not going to be diagnosed right away. But what you're feeling though is valid. So have that checked out because don't just ignore it or think it'll go away. Just still have it checked out. So, Kelly, I don't know if you have any final thoughts on that.
I don't think so. I think that's pretty good. And again, every single person's experience is so vastly different. So don't underplay things. Feel free to bring up any concerns with loved ones, your care team. Yeah, don't overthink it to the point that you don't get help, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. So, very good.
So now we're going to hear from Angela and Kaz talking about the conversation that Darcy and Kellie just had.
Yes, for me, this point brought up that as a brain injury survivor, if something new is discovered or something changes for you during your journey, it's simply new information to help you know how to proceed going forward. It's not negative, it's not something to be down on yourself about. It's simply new information to help you know how to proceed.
Bravo. For me, the new things that occurred was neurofatigue became really challenging. It's still quite a challenge. Disinhibition was happening. So, as new struggles and new challenges pop up, there's an ability to create new strategies to move forward.
Thank you for sharing that. Be sure to watch our Survivor to Survivor videos of all 12 points from the Communicating About Brain Injury statement.
Thanks for watching, everyone.